Michael Jackson. Gary, Indiana, 1958, Los Angeles, 2009. American singer, top pop star of the 80s. An excellent dancer and vocalist, endowed with an undoubted appeal to his countless followers around the world, Michael Jackson also demonstrated a special talent for business related to the world of music and entertainment. His private life was a constant source of news, not always positive, reflected in a profusion of headlines by magazines and other general information publications. The Jackson 5 at the age of 8, the family group of which, at one time or another, all the sons of the Jackson family. His excellent singing and dancing skills soon made him the leader and vocalist of the family band. His childhood in Gary, however, was difficult, not to mention traumatic. He suffered continuous mistreatment from his father, a fact that determined his unstable and self-demanding personality and partly explains his ambiguous attachment to childhood. Supported by Diana Ross and other top artists, the Jackson 5 experienced a rapid rise. After a first single in 1967, Barry Gotti signed him to the Motown label, which until 1975 released successive and successful singles that, along with television appearances and concerts, launched the group to stardom. Without dissociating himself from his brothers, with whom he would continue to share recordings and stages, Michael Jackson began an individual career in 1971, the year in which he released Got to Be There, 1971, which was followed by Ben, 1972. Both albums charted strongly. With the second album's title track, Ben, he reached his first US #1. With the Motown Record Company, he recorded 2 more albums, Music and Me, 1973, and Forever, Michael, 1975, less successful. In 1975, after breaking with Motown and signing with Epic Records, the Jackson 5 were renamed the Jacksons. Although until 1985, and both in their tours and concerts and in studio recordings, the group could count on the presence and contributions of their leader, Michael Jackson was progressively concentrating on his solo career, especially after the fame that brought him his intervention in Sidney Lumet's musical film The Wizard, 1978, a remake of The Wizard of Oz in which, playing the role of Scarecrow, he sang a duet with Diana Ross. Although the film was not a great box office success, its musical director, Quincy Jones, was fascinated by the talent of that 20-year-old young man and became the main architect of the meteoric career that would propel Michael Jackson to heights of popularity never before seen. Views. The importance of Quincy Jones' endorsement was evidenced by the results of the album Off the Wall, 1979, which would give the new pop idol a not inconsiderable number of 5 consecutive hit singles, with songs like Rock With You or Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. The album itself did not reach #1, but it sold over 8 million copies before the end of the year. From then on, some of the hobbies and extravagances that Michael Jackson would show off throughout his career began to become known, such as his personal religious ideas or the excessive attention he paid to his health and physical appearance. They were, however, the years in which he best concentrated his talent and energy on artistic creation. The success of Off the Wall led to a new collaboration between Jackson and Quincy Jones, the result of which, after long and intense work, was Thriller, which was not released until 1982. Thriller was overwhelmingly successful, quickly becoming the best-selling single artist album in music history. 7 of its 9 songs became singles on both the American and British charts, and 2 of its songs, Billie Jean and Beat It, accompanied by attractive videos, successively reached the top of the US sales chart. In England he would achieve even more fame with 2 songs sung with the former member of the Beatles Paul McCartney, The Girl Is Mine, included in Thriller, and Say Say Say, which was part of McCartney's album Pipes of Peace, 1983. Michael Jackson showed his business instincts by devising the creation of a video to enhance the album's title track, which had not yet appeared as a single. He hired John Landis for his direction, and produced it, to a large extent, paying for it out of pocket. Since the record company did not believe that the investment was necessary, those responsible for the company were of the opinion, very wrongly, that the record was already at its sales limit. The appearance of the Thriller video, with its novel special effects and elaborate choreography, shook up the usual structures of the music market. The album rocketed to 40 million copies, nearly doubling pre-video sales. The video itself in domestic format also achieved million-dollar sales, ceasing to be a mere promotional tool for the album to become a business in itself. After receiving 8 Grammy Awards for Thriller, Michael Jackson still accompanied his brothers at promotional concerts for the band's penultimate album, Victory, 1984, as well as on the final tour of the Jacksons in 1985, sponsored by a major soft drink company. Together with an impressive list of established American artists, Bruce Springsteen, Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, Bob Dylan, Tina Turner, among others, that same year he participated in the recording of the single We Are the World, theme composed by Jackson himself and Lionel Richie, the profits of which went to fight hunger and disease in Africa. This was not the first nor the last of the altruistic projects in which the singer collaborated, but his well-known eccentricities, often distorted, and above all his suspicions of pedophilia, for which he was never convicted, would later weigh like a stone on his image, making him forget that no musical star gave to human organizations. You would have as many donations and collections from concerts and records as Michael Jackson. Already focused exclusively on his solo career, the artist continued to enjoy worldwide admiration and stratospheric sales. 2 years later he released a new album, Bad, 1987, with almost the same commercial success as his previous album. 5 of the singles taken from the album reached the top position on the charts. The following year he published his autobiography, Moonwalk, 1988, and starred in Moonwalker, 1988, a film articulated around a succession of musical numbers with a video clip aesthetic. From this period dates the acquisition of the Californian estate where he had his fantastic residence built, the famous ranch named Neverland, like Peter Pan's island where children did not grow up, a large mansion surrounded by an amusement park, a zoo, and a cinema. In the 90s Dangerous, 1991, appeared, promoted, like Bad, with a great international tour that brought together millions of followers around the world. Also the first single taken from the album, Black or White, ranked first on the charts, but 2 years later a scandal broke out over the singer's alleged pedophilic inclinations, who avoided trial by means of an out-of-court agreement. Many years later, Michael Jackson having passed away, the alleged victim of the abuse would confess that, under pressure from his father, he had made false accusations to obtain compensation. All this led to the suspension of some concerts and a retirement that he only abandoned to divulge his relationship with fellow singer Lisa Marie Presley, daughter of Elvis Presley. They had been secretly married in May 1994, the short-lived marriage ended in early 1996. In November of that same year, Michael Jackson remarried Debbie Rowe, a nurse whom he had met 15 years before, with whom he would have a boy and a girl. The union also ended early in 1999, with the father retaining custody of the children. Earlier, in mid-1995, Michael Jackson released History, Past, Present, and Future, Book I. This double disc was a compilation of 15 of his greatest hits, on the first disc, titled History Begins, and at the same time his 5th studio album, the second album, entitled History Continues, contained another 15 new songs, including Scream, performed as a duet with her sister Janet Jackson, and You Are Not Alone, his umpteenth #1 on the charts. In August, the idol participated in an internet session, answering, for an hour, questions from all those who had the opportunity to access the service. Supported by an unprecedented publicity campaign and another world tour in 1996 to 1997, History ended up being the best-selling double album of all time. After 6 years of silence, except for the remix album Blood on the Dance Floor, History in the Mix, 1997, the Sony Music record label announced the worldwide release of Invincible, 2001, the new work of the King of Pop. Despite the fact that the singer's confrontation and subsequent break with Sony Music limited his promotion, copies sold continued to number in the millions. But 2 years later, Michael Jackson again starred in a scandalous media episode. The Santa Barbara police issued a search and arrest warrant against him for an alleged crime of sexual abuse of minors. Michael Jackson turned himself into the authorities on November 20, 2003, and, despite the seriousness of the complaint, was provisionally released after posting a $3 million bail. His ordeal did not end there, because in the spring of 2004 he was formally accused of child abuse again, for which he had to go back to court again. In June 2005, after a trial that lasted for 5 months, the sentence acquitted the singer of all charges. A battered image, economic hardships, and health problems marked his last years. Difficulties with the law led to the closure of his residence, the famous Neverland Ranch. To avoid media pressure, he moved to Bahrain, invited by the prince of this small country on the Persian Gulf. Jackson tried to solve his financial problems by releasing compilations such as King of Pop, 2008, and Thriller 25, 2008, a reissue of Thriller with some new songs, while preparing his return to the stage in a last attempt to relaunch his career. Finally, in March 2009 he announced a concert tour called This Is It, which was to begin in London in July of the same year. His unexpected death of a heart attack, just weeks before the start of the tour, caused great shock throughout the world.